Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. In this lesson, we'll be analyzing the poem An Afternoon Nap by Arthur Yap. Okay, so we'll begin with the first four lines. The ambitious mother across the road is at it again. Proclaiming her goodness, she beats the boy, shouting out his wrongs. With raps, she begins with his mediocre report book grades. So the unnamed speaker of an afternoon nap begins the poem by describing a scene that the speaker has apparently witnessed. And what is the scene? The scene is about a woman who lives across the street, and that woman is beating her son and scolding him for various wrongdoings, starting with his poor grades in school. The speaker calls this mother ambitious. This is a word that, in many contexts, has positive connotations. Here, though, it suggests that the mother is living indirectly through her child. So she wants to complete or fulfill her ambitions through her child. So she wants him to succeed for her own gratification. There is enjambment over here, if you can see, road, goodness, raps. All of these are enjambments. So the enjambment of the poem's opening lines also creates anticipation. The readers are propelled across the first line as they wait to discover what exactly this ambitious mother is doing. Yani ki the ambitious mother across the road is at it again. What again? It's not clear. Proclaiming her goodness, she beats the boy. Shouting out his wrongs with raps, she begins with mediocre report. So these are the things. She beats the boy and begins with his mediocre report. These are the things which she is actually indulged in. So the phrase at it again conveys that whatever she is doing is a regular occurrence in this household. She's doing this again. So the full stop caesura in the middle of the line then creates a moment of suspense before the reveal that she is beating her child. Mother across the road is at it again. What is it? The suspense has been created. There is a pause. Now, after the pause would come the actual story. Proclaiming her goodness, she beats the boy. Okay, so it creates a moment of suspense before it is being revealed that she is actually beating her child. Okay, okay, ji. So placing the phrase proclaiming her goodness front emphasizes the irony of the situation. How can she be proclaiming herself that she is a good mother by actually beating the boy? So there is a clear disconnect between what the mother perceives herself to be doing, which is demonstrating that she is a good mother, and what she is actually doing. Difference between her perception, what she is doing, and her actual actions, which she is doing. There is a huge, stark difference between the two, and that is she's actually beating her child. She's perceiving that she's doing something good, but in actuality, what is she doing? She is beating a child. How can beating a child be anything good? So there is irony over here. The mother loudly scolds her son, shouting out his wrongs while the raps or smacks him. Okay, while she raps him or smacks him, she reproaches him by detailing a list of perceived inadequacies. Okay, numerous things which are inadequate in her boy. She's going to be listing them down. And she's beginning with what? She's beginning with the mediocre report book grades or the average grades he has received on his school report card. So his academic performance apparently is below her expectation. Then we will find alliteration over here. This alliteration brings the mother's anger to life. Now listen to the booming burr sounds of beats the boy, okay, and the growling R sounds of wrongs and raps, for example. So consonance also is present over here. This consonance adds to the effect also. In addition to those burr and r alliterations, listen to the sharper and guttural g sounds that fill this passage, proclaiming her goodness. She beats the boy, okay, raps, begins, mediocre, report, book, praise, okay, and then you will found assonance also over here. The assonance of shouting out, the sound of shouting, and out. It turns up the volume on that phrase in particular, calling readers' attention to the ferocity of the mother's scolding, shouting out. Okay, the assonance over here. With this, we're going to move on to the next stanza between lines 5 and 8. She strikes chords for the afternoon piano lesson. Her voice stridently imitates second language tuition, all the while circling the cowering boy in a manner apt for the most strenuous PE ploy. The mother strikes chords during her son's afternoon piano lesson. This might mean that she is literally pounding the keys, intruding on the lesson and trying to correct her son's sloppy playing. Yani कि the son at the moment might be busy in the lesson of piano and she's intruding on that lesson and she's pounding on the keys and trying to tell her child, her son, and trying to correct her son's sloppy playing. The speaker might also be metaphorically comparing the mother's voice to the harsh sound of piano keys being slammed. Okay, because if it is not rhythmic, then it is cacophonic, and the mother's voice, because she is at the moment angry, because she is scolding the child, it is going to be cacophonic. Either way, the word struck is violent and harsh. Next, the speaker says that her voice stridently imitates second language tuition. The mother is mimicking the sound or style of teaching second language in harsh manner. Okay, what is she doing? She is mimicking the sound or style of teaching a second language in a harsh manner. Anike, the phrase second language is an abbreviation of second language in itself. Okay, and it is a reference to the fact that Singapore has a bilingual education system. So in English language schools, students are actually required to study one of three mother tongues as a second language based on their ethnic heritage. It can be Mandarin, it can be Malay, or it can be Tamil as well. The son's implied lack of proficiency in that language reflects the general disconnect between the son and his elders. Yani कि the son cannot speak the language of her elders, which is being taught as the second language. So alternatively, the poet, he might mean that the son is getting extra lessons in standard English outside of school. यानी कि either the language is the standard English, which is the compulsory language, or it is the second language. Okay, यानी कि it can be a scenario that that standard English is being treated as a second language. So, as the language of international commerce as well as official functions, standard English is considered more prestigious and elevated than the colloquial English commonly spoken in Singapore. Okay, so the actual English in Singapore is the colloquial English. Okay, and uh, uh, the English that is spoken in Singapore, which is a blend of Singaporean language and English, which is known as Singlish, is the colloquial form of English. Whereas the standard British English can be considered over here as the standard English. Okay, so in either case, whether the child is learning any other languages, या फिर the standard English language, the line second language tuition is rich with meaning. क्या meanings है भाई इसके अंदर? In one interpretation, the mother is attempting to speak this second language to her son's tutor. Okay, the word imitate suggests that she may not be proficient at this language. However, her imitation may sound affected or unnatural. Perhaps her own parents could not afford second language tuition when she was growing up. So she wants her child to have a command over that language. So the mother may want her son to have a strong command of this language, especially because she herself does not, or the mother mimics her son's poor use of this second language to reprimand him कि भाई ये क्या पढ़ लो ये कैसे बोल रहे हो. Okay, so she is mimicking her son's poor use of the second language to reprimand him. जैसे हम नकल उड़काने पे बोलते हैं ना कि ये गलत पढ़ लो तुम. So in this reading, the mother stridently यानी कि unpleasantly rebukes her son for his poor study habits. She views the second language lessons as important for her son's upward mobility. The speaker then describes the mother's rageful physicality by evoking imagery that is almost monstrous. क्या बोला जा रहा है? As the mother yells and hits her son, she stalks threateningly around him. She is circling around him. Okay, na? She is circling as a bully or as a predator, the way a predator might circle around his target or his prey. The son, for his part, cowers like a cornered or an overpowered animal withdrawing from the predator. Okay, withdrawing from the bully, that is her mother. So, and as she punishes him, the mother's movements require a level of physical exertion comparable to the most strenuous PE ploy. Okay ना, पीक वो जो आपकी फिजिकल वो होती है एक्सरसाइज. तो uh, as she is punishing him, the movement of the mothers when she is circling around the boy, okay, which is resulting in the boy cowering, that movement of the mother, it requires a certain level of physical exertion. Yani ki she is exerting physically, actively, and that is comparable to the most strenuous exercises, most vigorous exercises one does in physical education class. Yani ke when the mother is actually trying to deal with the child and circling around him, her actions, her movements are like strenuous PE physical exercise, vigorous physical education exercise. Okay, the sounds of these lines, they bring the mother's anger to life on the page. For example, listen to the sharp consonants in words like strikes, chords, circling, and covering. This is a consonants on k sound. Now combined with the stanza's sinister sibilants, strikes, lesson, circling, most, strenuous, the lines feel distinctively harsh and threatening. These sounds evoke the mother's spitting and hissing rage. Okay, swift are all her contorted movements, ape for every need. So the mother's swift and contorted movements suggest the fast, aggressive way she frowns and twists her body as she scolds her son. This description of the mother's physicality highlights how profoundly gripped she is by emotion. She is unable to contain or control her anger, which contorts her, which changes, which twists her facial features. The speaker may also be implying that such rage distorts her character as a mother, since people typically associate mothers with care and tenderness. Okay, how can a mother swift her are all her contorted movements a for every need? Okay, so speaker is implying that such rage is not only distorting her facial expressions, but it is also, such anger is also distorting the character of this lady as a mother. Okay, na? How can a mother who is typically associated with care and tenderness can show such kind of rage and anger that her face distorts? So this is a distorted character of a mother. The phrase "an ape for every need" implies that she meets every need with full mimicry. So as a verb, to ape means to imitate or copy. Okay. So phrase है क्या? An ape for every need. It implies that she meets every need with cruel mimicry, because ape means to imitate. Okay, to copy. So the speaker suggests that the mother is not just beating her son, but she is taunting him as well, adding humiliation to physical brutality. Okay, aping, imitating different things, different actions which the child is involved in. So this is an action of humiliating the child. Notably, the speaker once again describes the mother's behavior as animalistic. Okay, na? Just way, just like her movements were contorted, suggested that her character of mother as a mother is being contorted. Then this ape, her imitation, her mimic of different actions that are taking place, uh, is actually in a way indirect connection between the mother and her behavior as an animal. So it's trying to suggest that the mother's behavior is animalistic. So in the previous stanza, she was circling her child like a bird of prey. Now she has an ape for every need. It refers to an animal. Again, the mother seems more like a predator than a nurturing presence. Line 10 till 12. No soft gradient of a consonant vowel figure. She lumbers and shrieks, a hit for every two notes missed. Note how the speaker's description here begins with a negation. No soft gradient of a consonant vowel figure. So the mother is not a sweet, nurturing, gentle one. She is not a soft gradient of a consonant vowel figure. Consonant vowel figure, a figure which is a combination of a consonant and a vowel, which can be ma. Okay, na ma. Mother का क्या है short form ma. M and A. M happens to be the consonant and A happens to be the vowel. Okay, so she is not a soft gradient of a consonant vowel figure, yani ke the mother is not a sweet, nurturing gentleman. So on one level, the word figure refers to a silhouette or the shape of something. Something. She's not that shape of mother. Okay, now she's not the figure of mother. She's a father figure. So she's not a mother figure. So a consonant vowel figure might refer to a word like ma, a word which is comprised of a consonant and a vowel and used as one term of endearment for a kind mother. So she is not anywhere close to that term of endearment that is ma. So this mother is definitely not a soft or a gentle presence in her son's life. She is no ma. Okay. A figure also refers to a number like one calculates in math. The word thus reminds the readers that the mother is disappointed with her son's academic performance. The same is true of the phrase consonant vowel, which invokes the son's language studies mentioned earlier in the poem. The phrase soft gradient also brings to mind academia. Gradient is another term used in math and refers to the calculation of a line's incline or decline. Okay, now just slope. A soft gradient describes a gentle slope. So, in describing the furious mother as a figure who lacks a soft gradient, then the speaker uses a metaphor to describe the mother's severity. If her emotional response to her son resembled a soft gradient or a gentle incline, she might be slower to anger and more understanding. Instead, the ambitious mother's retaliatory behavior resembles the severity of a sharp incline. Her emotions escalate quickly to rage. The speaker is critical of the intense physicality and vocalization of the mother's rage. She lumbers and shrieks, trudging around her son like a screaming monster and smacking him for playing incorrect notes on the piano. A hit for every two notes missed. Okay, na? She lumbers, she shrieks. Okay, na? And then what? She a hit for every two notes missed. Okay, na? These are her actions. A smack to the child for every two notes which he is missing while playing his piano lesson. Okay, his tears are dear. Each Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Miss Lowe and Madam Lim appear and take away $90 from the kitty, leaving him an adagio, clause analysis, little pocket money. So his tears are dear. Each Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Miss Lowe and Madam Lim they appear and take away $90 from the kitty, leaving him an adagio. Okay, clause analysis and little pocket money. So in the fourth stanza, the poem starts to focus on the son's reaction now, okay, to his mother's criticism. Clearly, he does not take it well, whatever the mother is doing, however, the mother is acting upon the boy's shortcomings, the boy is not taking it well. So, kya ho raha hai? The boy cries, okay, na, he's in tears. The boy cries, and his tears are dear. So, the internal rhyme between tears and dear, they call readers, it calls readers' attention to the son's misery as well as to the fact that those tears are costly. The word dear can mean beloved, precious, or cherished, but it can also mean expensive. So he weaves these dear tears on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays because those are the days his language tutor and piano teacher, one is Miss Lowe, the other one is Madam Lim, they visit for extracurricular classes or lessons. Now, these are also the days readers can guess that his mother rebukes him for his disappointing performance during those lessons, which cost $90 a week. So the speaker notes that family saves this money in a kitty. Perhaps this is an object which is similar to a piggy bank. The poem doesn't specify who exactly is regularly contributing to the kitty, but the fact that money for the son's extracurricular lessons is saved in such a spot, it suggests that this family is not wealthy, because a wealthy family probably would not need to save bills or change in order to pay for the son's lessons. It is also clear that the son does not value his educational opportunities as highly as his mother does. Each week, Miss Lowe and Madam Lin, the son's teachers, they appear and take away $90 from the kitty, leaving him an adagio, clause analysis, little pocket money. In other words, Miss Lowe and Madam Lim, they come to the house for lessons, take payment for their services, and then leave the son with music and language homework. Okay, adagio is a musical rhythm marking, while clause analysis refers here to the grammar exercises. Okay, so the son is not keen on this transaction because the money his teachers take for his lessons, it leaves him with less money for fun. Okay, so the entire last line of the stanza is comprised of the word pocket money. आखिरी line क्या है? Pocket money. Okay, so it highlights the importance of this word to the son. This stanza, like the previous stanzas, is filled with asyndeton. It is filled with asyndeton. In each Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and leaving him in adagio, clause analysis, little pocket money. The speaker is omitting coordinating conjunctions, and as a result, the poem moves swiftly forward, subtly conveying just how punishing the son's lesson is. Lines 18 till 20. The embittered boy across the road is at it again. Proclaiming his bewilderment, he yells at her, shouting out her wrongs with tears. So the final stanza parallels the first stanza. The opening stanza describes the angry mother, while the last describes the angry son. So now note how similar the language is in these stanzas. In the first stanza, the ambitious mother is proclaiming her goodness while she beats her son. In the last stanza, the embittered son is proclaiming his bewilderment while he yells at his mother. The ambitious mother replaced with embittered son, proclaiming her goodness replaced with proclaiming his bewilderment, beats her son replaced with yells at his mother. In the first stanza, the speaker describes the mother as a shouting out, okay, na? As shouting out the son's wrongs with raps, with some smacks as well. And in the last stanza, the speaker describes the son as shouting out the mother's wrongs with tears. Okay, na? So she is shouting out the son's wrongs with raps, with smacks, and he is shouting out the mother's wrongs with tears. The son, like the mother, is at it again. यानी कि it is conveying that the tension in the household is nothing new. कभी माँ चीखती है, कभी बेटा चीखता है. The parallelism of these stanzas calls readers' attention to the juxtaposition between these characters. Throughout the poem, the son has endured his mother's rage, but in the last stanza, the poem gives the son a voice. He yells back at his voice. Just as the mother has counted his perceived faults, the son tearfully points out what he perceives to be her deficiencies or wrongs as a mother. He conveys through his bewilderment how her harsh treatment has produced resentment and pain. But just as there was irony in mother's proclamation of goodness as she beat her son, there is irony in the son's confusion as well. The son may claim not to understand why his mother is so angry with him, but the speaker suggests the claim is false. The son may feel undeserving of her wrath, but he cannot reasonably doubt why his mother is so angry with him. The title of the poem is An Afternoon Nap. The implication being that the son chose to take a nap rather than study or practice piano. So it's not completely the mother's fault. Okay. So through this parallelism, the poem expresses or what it means to be a good parent and a good child. The mother believes a good son is ambitious, hardworking, and high achieving. She believes a good mother is someone who provides the educational opportunities necessary for her child's success. Okay, so a mother believes that a good son is ambitious and hardworking and high achieving, and believes that a good mother is someone who provides for the educational opportunities which are necessary for her child's success in life and disciplines them even if it is harshly if necessary, and when they waste the opportunities they have been given. So obviously when they're going to do that, they're going to waste the opportunities. It is going to become necessary to treat the child harshly. Okay, the son on the other hand believes that a good mother is the one with more reasonable expectations and a willingness to let him or let her child rest and play. Line 21. He begins with her expensive taste for education. The poem concludes with the bewildered son counting the faults of his bossy mother, the primary being her willingness to pay a high price to provide him with an excellent education. So the price the mother pays is not simply material, but also refers to the emotional cost of the conflict between these generations. Okay, so he begins with an expensive taste for education. Okay, so the son describes the mother's emotional and material investment in his education metaphorically as a matter of expensive taste. This phrase is typically used to describe ये जो expensive taste है, it is typically used to describe preferences in a person's consumption choices that are more material, perhaps even frivolous and less abstract than something like education. For instance, one might have an expensive taste for gourmet food or designer shoes or luxury cars. So in describing his mother's desire for him to be well educated as an expensive taste for education, then the son is actually trivializing the mother's desire. The son may view his mother's expensive taste for education as motivated not by the best intentions for his future success and fulfillment, but an insensitive desire for higher social status and its material accessories. So this seems far-fetched. The poem also leaves open the possibility that the son does not value his mother's expensive taste for education because his skills are mismatched with the educational pursuits his mother values, or because he simply does not want to put in the effort required to excel academically, play piano well, or learn new language skills. He may not fully appreciate how the expensive education imposed upon him is meant to improve his life or future opportunities. Perhaps he simply would prefer to nap in the afternoon. Theme. The theme of this poem is the high cost of parental pressure to succeed. An afternoon nap illustrates what can happen when parents push their children too hard. The poem describes an ambitious mother who viciously scolds her son for his poor academic performance, believing all the while that she is doing the right thing. Rather than motivating her son, however, the mother's high expectations and harsh discipline just make her son bitter, distant, and miserable. The mother's ambitions for her son may be well intentioned in her mind, at least, but the poem suggests that they have also prevented her from giving him the kind of love and support he actually wants and needs. So, overall, the poem suggests that intense parental pressure and punishment are not simply unhelpful, but they are also harmful. It further certainly critiques the society that encourages the mother's narrow competitive vision of success in the first place. With this, we're going to move on to the poetic devices and the figurative language. We've done consonants, we've already gone through it while discussing the text. Metaphor, done, imagery has also been discussed, irony has also been, parallelism also. Okay, so all of these are already done. Okay, with this, we're going to move on to the form of this poem. So, an afternoon nap is a free verse poem. So, इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? That there is no pattern of meter and there is no rhyme scheme over here. And the speaker uses casual abbreviations and numerals throughout, such as second language, two notes, and $90. As a result, the poem sounds and looks conversational. Okay, the poem doesn't lack organization, however. Its 21 lines are broken into 5 stanzas. Most of these are more specifically quatrains, yani कि they contain 4 lines. Stanza 4, however, is a quintain, yani कि it has 5 lines with the pocket money one. So placing pocket money alone on its own, it emphasizes a major part of what's driving a problem between his mother and son, that is the money. The mother is angry about paying a lot for the lessons that the son, in her estimation, is not taking seriously enough. The son, meanwhile, resents the fact that these lessons eat into his spending money. Meter. An afternoon nap is a free verse. Okay, meaning it does not contain a regular meter. Instead, the poem's language sounds conversational. Harsh consonants and frequent accentation. They also lend the poem an uneven rhythm that helps to convey the sharpness of the mother's anger and the disconnect between her and her son. Rhyme scheme. So, as a free verse poem, An Afternoon contains no formal rhyme scheme. The lack of regular pattern of rhyme keeps things sounding conversational. Instead of rhyme, the poem relies on sharp consonants, alliteration, assonance to create its striking music. Speaker. The poem focuses on what the speaker observes. The poem's first 3 stanzas are devoted to the speaker's extremely critical assessment of the mother's severe discipline. The speaker's unflattering description of the mother's rage implies the speaker is sympathetic to the cowering son and might even feel to protect him. Setting. The poem takes place in contemporary Singapore, presumably in the afternoon, because Singapore is an urbanized city state with limited land for housing. An overwhelming majority of Singaporean citizens of all class black backgrounds live in flats or apartments. These flats are typically in high rise buildings clustered in close proximity. As such, an observant neighbor could easily develop the kind of familiarity the speaker has with this mother and son. The Singaporean setting illuminates some of the poem's details. For example, Singapore has a bilingual education system, hence the reference to second language tuition in the second stanza. Note too that the speaker says that both the mother and son are at it again. The scene that the poem describes is not unique. The speaker has overheard these two fighting many times, revealing that this is a home marked by frequent conflict, which only suggests that they live closely, yani कि living in flats across each other. Literary context. Singaporean poet Arthur Yap published the poem An Afternoon Nap in his 1977 collection Commonplace. Scholars of Yap's work note his tendency to write about ordinary everyday experiences, and An Afternoon Nap exemplifies this by focusing on the significance of a squabble between a mother and her son. Historical context. Singapore's population typically speaks at least 2 languages, a mother tongue language that is ethnically specific, yani कि Mandarin, Tamil, or Malay, and English. Colloquial Singapore English or Singlish is the island's lingua franca and is spoken in everyday rather than formal context. Standard English is more formal than Singlish and is used on official occasions and for commerce. So the nation's government has long promoted bilingual education policies. English is the medium of instruction in public schools, and students are required to study one of the mother tongues as a second language. In Yap's poem, the second language might refer to the son's mother tongue language studies or extracurricular lessons to help him with his standard English. With this, we're going to end this lesson. I hope you've understood all. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask.